A cheese so troublesome, even the European Union had to step in. Who knew feta cheese would have a history as messy as it is crumbly? As a whole, cheese in all its forms, except perhaps Limburger, is pretty much a gift from the heavens. When it comes to feta cheese, as legend has it, the art of cheesemaking was actually taught to the Greek people by Aristeas, the god of cheesemaking. He was also the son of Apollo and a nymph named Cyrene, although that's nothing to lose your head over. However, Aristeas wasn't actually the originating cheesemaker. According to the cheese subscription website Monthly Flavors, this humble and rather rustic god learned the art of casecia culture from the nymphs, the minor goddesses who presided over the natural world and the elements. Aristeas then took the idea and ran with it, and probably decided to share the literal God-given talent with Greek mortals because they, one can only assume, probably left a really good offering at his temple. While there's no exact date as to when feta cheese was originally brought into existence, some form of it can be traced back to the 8th century BC, notes the blog Real Greek Feta. In fact, some ancestor of feta is actually mentioned in Homer's Odyssey. As the story goes, the protagonist Odysseus finds a cave filled with all sorts of cheesemaking equipment, crates of cheese, and livestock. This cavernous cheese factory is actually the home of Polyphemus the Cyclops, the ginormous one-eyed giant and son of Poseidon, who wasn't really known for his charming good looks or his hospitable, well-mannered nature. The way Polyphemus greeted visitors was by eating them. Also, he wasn't just an accomplished cheesemaker, but also rather talented when it came to wooing the ladies with a good tune. But we digress. After returning from milking his sheep, his liquid gold, which was carried in yummy sheep stomach pouches, was curdled in the heat. While Polyphemus didn't actually create feta cheese, it is true that feta cheese is actually the oldest cheese in recorded history. It goes without saying that feta cheese is to Greece like soy sauce is to China. Bet you didn't see that one coming. Yet, for some reason, it seems like everyone wants to claim this humble dairy product as their own. It is pretty delicious, so you can sort of understand why.
And I specifically said no feta cheese. I mean, do they have to put feta cheese in?
Besides its home country of Greece, feta cheese has also been claimed by the British, who don't exactly have a great track record when it comes to claiming things like, other countries. And by France, also sometimes known as not playing nice when it comes to taking things without permission. Also noteworthy, the product review blog Choice states that the Aussies and Danes are also going head-to-head for the title of Feta King. And while the next two competitors aren't actually countries, the cheeseheads of Wisconsin and the home of the happy dairy cows of California are also scooting in to claim this archaic milk product as their own. It's blatantly obvious that everyone wants a piece of the feta brick, but unfortunately, true authentic feta cheese can only come from the land of gods, goddesses, and mythological monsters. Oh, and from kids' fables. Aesop, anyone? Although countries like Israel, Bulgaria, France, and Denmark all claim to have some part in the wonderful world of feta cheese, according to Britannica, this briny sheep's milk cheese is a 100% Greek invention. Feta is, after all, the national cheese of Greece, not the national cheese of Bulgaria, whose cheese is called Cyrene, according to the Slow Travel blog. If you're still not convinced, authentic feta cheese can only be manufactured in one of 7 specific locations, which include Central Greece, Thrace, Thessaly, Lesbos, Macedonia, and the Peloponnese, as noted by Gastronomy Tours. Any other cheese that's claimed to be feta should simply be called white cheese. If you take a gander at world history, there are a few things that the ancient Greeks did quite frequently. For example, competition was a pretty big deal. Think Olympics. And they often engaged in deep and highly insightful philosophical discussions. Can you say Pythagorean theorem and the creation of democracy? And they fought a lot. It was the nature of the beast at this time in history. You had to defend your personal property, your trade routes, your waterways, and even your wife, not only from foreign invaders, but also your neighbors. Greeks are known for their hospitality, joviality, and upbeat personalities, but also for their unrelenting fighting spirit. So when other countries began to try to steal the feta name, the Grecian people didn't back down.
Take it! It's yours!
On the contrary, they went the legal route and took it to the European Union to settle the score once and for all. Of course, the Greeks came out victorious. According to NPR, the EU ruled that Greece and only Greece was permitted to use the feta title, and that any feta-like cheese produced outside of the ancient country was prohibited from using the feta name. Unfortunately, not all countries involved took this news lightly. The European Union granted Greece exclusivity to the name feta back in 2002. This means that the cheese is registered as a protected designation of origin product, also known as a PDO. PDO prevents fraudulent products from circulation and helps preserve a culture's food history and food economy. But Danish feta makers snubbed this and continued labeling their white, crumbly cheese under the same guise. After multiple warnings, the EU decided to sue Denmark. The country known for bringing hot dogs, hygge, and Lego to the world had continued to allow Danish dairy producers to export their not Feta cheese as Feta to countries not part of the EU. According to a rather sour representative on the Danish Dairy Board, Feta cheese has been produced in the Balkans for centuries, and the idea that Greece was the birthplace of Feta was a hoax. Another interesting Feta fact is that this briny-soaked cheese is traditionally made with two types of milk, sheep and goat's milk. Nowadays, cow's milk is sometimes added, though this will pretty much remove the true and authentic part of a traditional Greek Feta cheese. Real Greek Feta is traditionally made up of a 70-30 milk ratio, with the dominant percentage being sheep's milk and the latter being from goats. That being said, just because it contains goat's milk does not mean that it's goat cheese. If the percentage of goat's milk goes up by even just 1%, it is no longer considered to be a true and traditional Feta cheese. According to Dairy Reporter, the milk used for traditional Feta cheese production comes from the livestock owned by local farmers, and these goats and sheep are indigenous to the region. Unlike other cheeses, or ones made with cow's milk, Feta is actually some of the healthiest cheese you can eat. According to Healthline, Feta cheese is not only low-calorie, but also low-fat, with only 74 calories and 6 grams of fat per serving. It's also got its fair share of vitamins A and K, as well as iron, phosphorus, and magnesium. There are actually 8 types of vitamins that fall under the B vitamin umbrella, according to Medical News Today. They are thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, pantothenic acid, B6, biotin, folate, and B12. While each B vitamin does its own thing, the overall gist is that they help with your metabolism. They make sure that all of your cells are all in tip-top shape, and they also create blood cells. So if your doctor says that you're deficient in any of the above, maybe sprinkle some Feta on your soup or salad, serve it with some hummus and pita bread, slice it for a sandwich, or go all in and just nosh down on it as is. While not all types can fall under this rule, Feta cheese could possibly become the new gastro-probiotic it food. That word may sound a little frightening, but don't worry, it's a good thing. Probiotics are just good bacteria that are already in your body. These little microbes are like a personal army dedicated to keeping you happy and healthy, by knocking out bad bacteria that cause infections and all that nasty stuff you don't want to deal with. According to Science Direct, through rigorous experimentation and testing, it's been discovered that some Feta cheese is made up of at least 48% of Lactobacillus plantarum. This particular bacterium helps boost your immune system by knocking down E. coli and Salmonella. You know, the guys responsible for food poisoning and severe gastrointestinal distress. What's even better is that this bacterium also helps with inflammation. Don't just go eating a bunch of Feta instead of taking over-the-counter pain medication, though. Ask your doctors what they recommend. Although Feta contains the anti-inflammatory microbe Lactobacillus plantarum, it's probably a good idea to limit your intake if you suffer from migraines or cluster headaches. This is because Feta, along with other aged foods, contains a naturally occurring compound called tyramine, as noted on the migraine management blog, Migraine Again. Other foods that fall under the noggin knocker category are pickled foods like sauerkraut, fermented foods like soy sauce, tempeh, or tofu, aged cheeses like blue, brie, or feta, smoked or cured meats with nitrates, and some beers. It's also important to note that if you are sensitive to tyrosine, you're going to want to ditch your leftovers. This is because the amount of tyrosine increases the longer it sits. So if you're wondering how old something is, look and see if the label says aged or fermented. It's probably best to find that food a new home, one that's not your stomach. According to Oxford Reference, Greek poet Hesiod, circa 700 BC, is said to be the originator of the thought behind the phrase moderation in all things. Possibly, he coined that phrase after experiencing too much honey mead during an all-night Dionysian shindig. So in the spirit of Hesiod, just take into consideration that Feta cheese, no matter the B vitamin or probiotic content, is not a low-sodium food. Salt is added to the Feta curds, and then the cheese is submerged in a brine that consists of 7% salt, so that's like adding salt to salt. The end product satisfies 13% of your daily recommended sodium intake, a whopping 312 milligrams per 1 ounce serving. But don't let that scare you, even if you are sensitive to sodium. Everyone should have the right to eat Feta. According to the helpful blog eHow, you can actually remove some of the excess sodium chloride by rinsing your Feta cheese with water and then soaking it in milk for 3 to 5 hours. The result is a less salty but still flavorful block of tasty, nutrient-rich Feta cheese. Feta's tangy, rich, and mildly salty flavor contrasts well with the sweet and juicy taste profile boasted by the globular summertime staple, watermelon. Like Hades and Persephone, these two foods are the extreme polar opposites, yet they marry quite nicely together. If you're wondering who to thank for this delicious pairing, the cheese professor points to British kitchen goddess Nigella Lawson, who published her recipe for watermelon, feta, and black olive salad, which was an instant hit nearly 2 decades ago. Since then, countless recipes involving feta cheese and watermelon have sprung up across the internet and graced the pages of cookbooks around the world. Some recipes stick to simplicity and toss in some fresh herbs and maybe some onions for added texture, flavor, and a punch of color. There are also jazzed-up salads that include creamy and extra rich ingredients like buttermilk, which turns this typically summery bite into a heartier side dish. Whichever recipe you choose, whether it's the more simplistic summer harvest or the elevated Olympian fare, there's one thing you can be sure of. Your taste buds will feel like you've treated them to a dish fit for a Dionysian celebration.